Welcome back to Sports Hop. You already know what time it is. It's your boy Mack B, back at it, back in the building. Episode 47 is here. And before we go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We appreciate all the love. I'm in the building. Solomon's in the building. How you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm on top of the world. And we know why, because the LA Dodgers win their 8th World Series title. Shout out to the Dodgers. They did it in dramatic fashion in Game 5. I mean, they were down 5-0. And that 5th inning will always haunt New York fans because the Yankees pretty much made a ton of mistakes. Not to say the Dodgers couldn't have come back and got it done the regular way, but, you know, all those unearned runs, and there was 3 critical errors in the 5th inning, starting with Aaron Judge out there in center field. Couldn't catch that fly ball. There was a mistake at third base, an errant throw by Volpe. And then, you know, the pitcher didn't go to the mound. He thought the first baseman had enough time to get it done, and that didn't happen. But nonetheless, the Dodgers rallied in the 5th inning. They tied the game up. It changed the entire momentum, not only of the game, but the series, right? You could just see that the Yankees and their fans were deflated after all of the mistakes that happened in the 5th. But they end up getting it done. They get the dub 7-6. They win the series 4-1. It's their 8th world title. Shout outs to the Big Blue. They handle business. And speaking of handling business, Freddie Freeman, I mean, you know, the World Series MVP, deservingly so, had 12 RBIs in the series. He had 6 consecutive games prior to last night's game. He didn't hit a home run last night, but he had 6 consecutive World Series games in which he hit a home run. That's unheard of. So, especially with him doing all these things amongst, you know, battling the health of his lovely child throughout the year and dealing with that, prayers up to you and the family with your lovely son. But Freddie Freeman is a hero, hometown hero. Props to you for making it happen. We love what you were able to do, particularly in the postseason. He had an injury, and there were some question marks early on if he was even going to play earlier in the postseason, but he battled through and he did his thing. So big time shout outs and respect to Freddie Freeman. All the best. You deserve it. The World Series MVP. And also, let's give some love to Dave Roberts, right? And him doing his magic with Blake Trinan, who pitched 2 1/3 innings, not giving up any runs. So 2 1/3 scoreless innings. He came in at some crucial moments and made it happen for the Dodgers. And you also had Mookie Betts with a sacrifice fly later in the game that actually allowed the winning run to come in. Edman was doing his thing as well. And, you know, even Ohtani, he didn't have the greatest World Series, but battling through that shoulder injury and still playing, you know, how many players would actually, you know, just, you know, tough it out and still go through a very, very difficult injury and still be up there trying to contribute to the win. So shout out to Shohei Ohtani, his first World Series title. Shout out to the Dodgers. They deserve it. I love what Dave Roberts did this year. You know, he's been phenomenal. And all the criticism that I gave in the past, I'm shutting my mouth. I don't have nothing to say but positive things with what you've been able to do, Dave Roberts. Much love and respect. He's had 4 World Series appearances as the Dodgers skipper. They've won 2 out of 4 World Series appearances, 8 National League titles. I mean, I can't say enough about what Dave Roberts has been able to do as a coach of the Dodgers. So love what you've been able to do as a manager. We're very excited here in LA. We finally get to have a real parade, right? Because during the pandemic, that wasn't happening, but there is a parade. Everybody in the city is going up. We're so excited. My question to you, Solomon, and everybody watching the show, was this World Series win, particularly last night's game, more of a Dodgers dominance and their resilience to come back like they've done so many times this year, particularly in the postseason? Or did the Yankees give the game away? Because I think there's a little bit of both, right? I think the Yankees, due to those 3 errors in that 5th inning disaster, did contribute to the Dodgers' comeback, but I think the Dodgers handled their business at the plate. They ran the bases well. Dave Roberts made better decisions than Aaron Boone. So I got to give credit on both sides. I think the Yankees had a little bit to do with that disaster, but I also like what the Dodgers were able to do under those conditions. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's the nature of a multi-game series. After every game, you're constantly making adjustments. You know you're going to have the same opponents. You know who's going to be pitching. You know what the lineups are going to be. And so what ends up happening is teams get into each other's heads, right? And so you really can't have cause without the effect when you get in games like this. So when you look at that fifth inning where you had three major blunders,
huge,
right, that, you know, you can't help but think these guys are thinking, I got a 5-0 lead, you know, we've got to win this game or it's over. How do we protect this lead? And then they just started making. So the Dodgers are in their heads a bit, right? These guys are just nervous, right? So you can't really have one without the other. I think the Dodgers' dominance contributed greatly to the errors in that fifth inning and their ability to come back and, you know, get up 7-6 eventually win it all.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to Cole on the mound for the Yankees because he was pitching a hell of a game up to that point, and two of those errors were not on him, but I do want to give him some love and him being resilient and still having the composure to go out the next inning and throw. And he actually pitched a pretty good game for the Yankees, but under unfortunate circumstances, they didn't get the win. Shout out to the world champion Dodgers. We love you here at Sports Hop. We can't wait to get some interviews with you all in the future. Moving on, we're going to land in Boulder, Colorado. Shout out to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes making it happen, getting it done. Colorado currently is 6-2. Their overall record is 6-2 after 8 games. They're 4-1 in the Big 12. And remember, they were predicted to finish 11th in their own conference. So I believe that Coach Prime is definitely a Coach of the Year candidate. I love what he's been doing to change the culture in Boulder at Colorado. He is doing it. And everybody that was sipping that haterade, keep on sipping because ain't nothing changing with him. He will carry the momentum. I love the movement in Colorado. I love what he's doing with the roster, the transfer portal. Many people question his coaching acumen and that he can come on from Jackson State and then come into major college football and create a winning culture. And he certainly has done that. Colorado is definitely a force to be reckoned with. They have a bye this week, and then they got to go to Texas Tech and play Texas Tech on November 9th. But I love what the Buffaloes are doing. I love what Coach Prime is doing. They not only have a chance to win the Big 12, if they basically win outright the rest of their remaining schedule and they win the Big 12 championship, there's a chance they could get into the college football playoff. That would be really, really exciting. And speaking of being really excited, let's pivot to Travis Hunter, two-way player, the only one in the country getting it done on both sides of the football. I mean, Hunter's putting up some amazing numbers. He's got 60 receptions, 757 yards receiving, 8 touchdowns on offense, and he's averaging about 12 yards a catch. So Travis Hunter's not only dominating offensively, on the defensive side of the ball, he's got about 18 tackles this year. He's got 2 interceptions, and he is just trouble on the outside because many times they're not going to throw to that side of the field because they know he can pick off that ball at any moment's notice. He is a great player. He is definitely the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. I definitely believe if Travis Hunter stays healthy, he should win the Heisman outright. There shouldn't be any doubt in anybody's mind. Nobody's doing it like Hunter. Again, Travis, let us know what time it is, what energy drink or what is your special diet where you can play 130 snaps a game and not tire out. I don't know how you do it, but I love whatever you're doing. Keep doing it. Such a generational talent over there in Boulder. And I love the fact that Dion and Coach Prime, he believes in Hunter. He also believes in Shedeur Sanders, his son, who's also put up some great numbers this year. He's got 21 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He's got almost 2,600 yards passing. I don't know why he's not in the conversation for Heisman as well, because he's putting up some great numbers. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now. That's right, I said it. Shedeur Sanders is definitely one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Him and Travis Hunter are definitely forces to be reckoned with. I love the movement in Boulder. I love what Colorado's been able to establish. And in reality, the only game that they really were out of this year was the Nebraska game. But they had a chance a few weeks ago to beat Kansas State. That was a tough loss in Boulder. But nonetheless, Colorado is 6-2. They are bowl eligible, and they are a force to be reckoned with, not only this season, but for many years to come. Big time love and respect and support for Coach Prime for changing the culture, the leadership component, teaching these young men not only life's lessons on the field, but how to be just a young adult off the field, setting up bank accounts for his entire team. I just love what he's doing. He brought in Warren Sapp to be a defensive-minded coach and help out on the defensive line. I love what Colorado's establishing and what they're building. It's the best story, period, in college football. Biggest thing that I have to say regarding this situation, and you, Solomon, here's my question. Do you see this as a one-off for Colorado and they don't build on this, or do you think this is just the beginning of a long-term movement in the right direction in Colorado? Because I believe it's a long-term movement in the right direction. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's assuming Deion Sanders stays at Colorado, which I assume he will. I mean,
yeah,
if you've got a great
assuming
team
he's
like
still
that,
there.
Yeah, and they're bowl eligible. Now, you can't help but appreciate the Deion Sanders effect. I mean, obviously it started in Jackson State, where he took this unknown HBCU team and just gave them national prominence. And so he's been able to duplicate that success at a higher level with higher stakes on a bigger stage. And it's just started from this whole strategic thing of using the transfer portal strategically to get the right players in, including his son. You know, on top of that, the Buffaloes have just executed just really, really well on social media, just constantly staying in front of people, showcasing their wins, just continually pushing that brand out there. They've got a lot stronger roster than last year, and they've improved their running game, with the addition of a running back from Ohio State. I forget his name, Dallin Hayden, I believe his name is. And so, they've made all the right moves, and you're starting to see that. And you're right. I think they've done way better than people thought they would. They thought it would be sort of a flash in the pan, but they put together a very good, comprehensive team. So to answer your question, what I really think is he is redefining how you succeed in college football.
Right.
Utilizing all these things, from the media to the transfer portal, all these things. I think other coaches are going to be looking at this blueprint for years to come.
And just to touch further on Coach Prime, I love the culture, not only on the field, but off the field. And he's, everybody's loose, in that locker room. There's not any hostility. I don't see any kind of tense moments. I mean, obviously there's challenges every single day with these athletes, but nonetheless, I just like the winning culture that he's instilled in Boulder, and everybody's having fun. And then you bring in the rappers and all these guys after the game to perform. I just think it's really cool. There aren't too many institutions in college football that are doing it like Coach Prime, but he has basically full reign over that program, and he's earned it. So everybody that's been sipping haterade, either pour it out or keep on sipping. We're going to move on, and we're going to land in LA, the city of angels. Shout out to the Clippers. They are in a new home, the Intuit Dome, and they have started the year off. They've got a 2-2 record. They had a tough loss the other night to Portland. But speaking of the Clippers, big time concern. They signed Kawhi Leonard to that 3-year extension, guaranteed $152 million of guaranteed money. I think they're going to regret that for years to come, because Kawhi Leonard is never available. He's always hurt. He's had the knee injury and he's had some other issues, but he's not really reliable and dependable to be your leader, to be your star player. I think they jumped the gun on signing that 3-year deal. I think they should have waited. And if they would have lost him, they would have lost him to free agency. But nonetheless, Kawhi Leonard is a great player when he's healthy and on the court. He can play with the best of them. He can get to the rim. He can score. He can defend. The problem is he's not available. And Kawhi Leonard doesn't really voice anything. He's not a vocal athlete at all. So in terms of branding, he's not really doing anything for Steve Ballmer and the Clippers franchise because he doesn't talk and he's not playing. So you've got a double nightmare for the Clippers. And that's no disrespect to Kawhi or the Clippers organization, but this is a business. And, you know, the bottom line is if you're paying a star player $152 million guaranteed money, he already got the bag, but nothing is happening on the court. You moved into a new arena. You're trying to generate a level of excitement and anticipation. You're trying to escape the shadow of the Lakers, who've been so dominant, not only in Los Angeles, but for years in the NBA. They've won 17 championships. The Clippers have never won a title. I do like what Steve Ballmer has done and trying to change the culture in LA, getting them their own arena, trying to establish a whole new identity for the Clippers. So I like what Steve Ballmer has done as an owner. The man is worth $126 billion. So he knows what the hell he's doing, and much love and respect for him building that beautiful facility. I have yet to get over there, and I will be checking that out this year. I've heard nothing but great things about it. But back to the Clippers, James Harden is an aging player. He dribbles way too much. He doesn't spread the floor. He doesn't facilitate like he used to. He's not the answer. Paul George has been shipped off to Philadelphia. I mean, the Clippers have some role players. You've got Derrick Jones Jr., you've got Batum, you've got some other players on the Clippers. You do got Terrence Mann. So they have a decent nucleus of players, but they need more shooting from the outside, and they need a star because Harden is no longer star status in my book. No disrespect to Harden. He can still give you about 20 points a game, but he turns the ball over a lot and he dominates the dribble to where the shot clock is under 10 seconds by the time he makes a decision to either go to the rim or pass the ball. So I think the Clippers are going to have some growing pains, not only this year, but in years to come. Signing Kawhi to that guaranteed contract, that extension, they really don't have a lot of room to bring in a star player and have enough money to pay. So I think they're kind of stuck with that contract for now. The Clippers definitely have been a team that's tried to escape the shadow of the Lakers. There's been a Clippers curse for years. That's what many have, referenced the Clippers as, a franchise that's been cursed over the years, particularly with that whole Sterling debacle many years back. I think the Clippers have a bright future, to be honest with you, but it's going to be years down the road. I think in maybe 4 to 5 years, the Clippers can turn things around, but I love the passion of Steve Ballmer, and I think the Clippers eventually will get it right. For right now, they're going in the wrong direction. I don't see them winning more than about 40 games this year in the Western Conference, which is more loaded than a baked potato at Wendy's, right? So I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to get into the postseason and get into the NBA playoffs. What are your thoughts here, Solomon, on this, not only the James Harden situation, but Kawhi Leonard particularly, who hasn't been available, and they gave him all this guaranteed money? Do you think it was the right move?
I feel bad for Kawhi Leonard, first of all. It must be frustrating for him as a player who plays at such a high level to constantly be, berated with injuries. That being said, I feel like the Clippers window has closed. Think about when they were at their height. They had Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden.
Yeah.
Think about what that team is supposed to do. Plus, you have a very good center, Nivaka Zubac. So it's not like they're a team of scrubs. You've got they had a great strong bench
roster.
They had good coaching. They had financial support.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to do it. And so now you lose not one, but basically two of those stars. James Harden is aging. Russell Westbrook is aging. He has his moments, right? But he's always been a little bit of a liability. James Harden is a defensive liability. And beyond that, you've got Terrence Mann and a couple of other promising young players. So the team has no identity now.
Yeah.
It's like when you say they're going to be better in a couple of years, it's going to be a whole new team. I mean, think about it. Who are they building around? They have nobody to build around right now, and that's going to be a problem for the Clippers. Love the new stadium. Hopefully they'll get some concerts in there to make some money off the stadium, but I don't know if the Clippers are going to be going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. So Shout out to Steve Ballmer. Love your passion. Love your energy. I'd love to bring you on this show in the future. We're going to move on, and we're going to land in Big D, which has been rather little lately because the Cowboys have been a grease fire. They are just in a tailspin. They can't seem to get it right and figure it out. Dallas has been struggling, particularly not only offensively, but the defense. I mean, they're ranked 26th overall in total defense in the NFL. They're giving up about 380 yards a game. They can't stop a nosebleed that, many teams run the football down their throat. The Dallas Cowboys in the trenches can't stop anybody. They're vulnerable to the run. They're vulnerable to the pass. Everything is just going wrong for them. Parsons is still out with that high ankle sprain injury. He hasn't played since week 4. So the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones with Dak Prescott, he gave him all that money, that $60 million a year contract. CeeDee Lamb signed a big deal. I think Jerry jumped the gun literally and gave out too much money too soon. Jerry Jones, who's not only the owner but the general manager, I just think that he's so stubborn that he has not transitioned to how the NFL is played now. We're not in 1995 anymore. It's not 97, 98, the last time you all were relevant. I think Dallas needs to blow up the team. I think they need to just basically rebuild because this particular roster of players, it's not working. Even if Micah Parsons was healthy and playing, I don't think the Cowboys' record would be much better. Maybe they would have one more win. They're currently 3-4. The NFC East with the rise of the Commanders and the Eagles playing good football. The Cowboys are on the verge of being in the basement. I mean, the Giants aren't much better, but, Dallas is going nowhere fast. I think it's time for Jerry to kind of, let the reins go and give some control to some people that are more qualified to come in and help run that organization. You're still owning the team. You're still the most highest valued franchise in all of professional sports. So nothing changes for you, Jerry. You're still going to sell out every game. I think he has control issues. Jerry, you need to relinquish control, take your foot off the gas, pump the brakes, reevaluate everything because I can't blame the entire Cowboys for this disaster. I blame part of this on Jerry Jones. You had a chance to get Derrick Henry in the offseason, who lives in Dallas, who also said before the Ravens signed him, he said he would love to play for the Cowboys. I mean, the man lives in your city where you're located. I mean, it's not rocket science here. So you guys dropped the ball on Derrick Henry. You have no running game. Ezekiel Elliott, who you brought back, he's lost a step. He can't produce. He can't run the football with consistency. Dak is making a lot of mistakes, and Dak has had injuries over the years. He's not the same player. He can't scramble and move around to the certain level that he used to. So he's lost a step. Elliott's lost a step. The defense is in chaos, and it's just a dumpster fire in Dallas. I think it's time to rebuild, Jerry. I think it's time to basically wave the white flag. You're not going to make the playoffs this year. And I think if you don't change your ways, it's going to get worse in years to come in Dallas because you don't really have a lot of room to sign players because you loaded up on Dak and you loaded up on CeeDee Lamb. But maybe you can build through the draft. But you got to bring somebody in who knows football, who can make better executive and organizational decisions. So my question to you, Solomon, is it time to just basically reboot and rebuild in Dallas? Or should they hang in there with what they have and hope for a change? Because I think they're going nowhere fast.
Well, Dallas is a lot like the Lakers in that the fan base is worldwide, but also the criticism is worldwide, right? And so you end up with a team that is constantly being criticized, constantly being, just put under the microscope. And if you think about the Cowboys versus other teams, they're really doing nothing different. There are other teams that have had consistent losing records, but they've had strong fan bases, local fan bases. Now, Dallas has its local fan base, but it's just overshadowed by all of the other publicity that comes along with having an owner who has to be in the spotlight, right? just constantly being out there. And so in that respect, he's doing his team a disservice, because that also puts him under pressure to constantly make changes when things are going a little bit wrong, right? They don't stick with anything. And so they don't stick with their coaches. They don't stick with their offensive, defensive coordinators. And so they're constantly changing because they're under this constant pressure to change. So it's unfortunate. It's just a bad situation for the team overall. I do agree. I feel like they need to have maybe a lower profile on the ownership side of it.
Yeah.
So that team can develop some consistency, but I don't see it happening.
Right. Well, shout out to the Dallas Cowboys, who are going nowhere very fast. We'll see what happens over there with Jerry and those boys in Dallas. Speaking of Dallas, we're going to move on, but we're going to stay in the city of Dallas because there's a huge fight coming up November 15th at AT&T Stadium. You got Jake Paul and Mike Tyson that are going to basically put on the gloves and box it out. Now, this is an interesting fight, right? Because they're 2-minute rounds. It's an 8-round bout. And you got Jake Paul, who's 27 years of age. And you got Mike Tyson, who's 58. That is a 31-year difference. Recently, Mike Tyson had a health issue with an ulcer. He aggravated an ulcer. I love Mike Tyson. In his prime, he was a phenomenal fighter. I love him as just a media personality, as an actor, as an all-around entertainer. But to be honest with you, Mike, I think you're making a big mistake by getting back in the ring, not only because of your age, but because of your recent health issues. Jake Paul, who is 31 years younger than you, is a great marketer of his brand. I don't know if he's going to ever be a dominant boxer based on who he's fought over the years, but I do like his marketability factor. I love what Jake Paul is doing to basically brand himself. It's working brilliantly. So I love what he's creating and what he's building. I personally think there's going to be a lot of hype with this fight, but what's going to happen inside the ring is a whole different story. I fear that there may be an injury, a significant injury that may come out of this fight. And it may be on the side of Jake Paul suffering the injury due to Tyson. I mean, Tyson's been training like a beast. He looks strong, he looks fast, but he's still 58 years of age. I'd hate for either one of these guys to get seriously hurt in this fight. But there's a lot of buzz in the boxing world around it. It's happening November 15th. It's going to be a huge event on pay-per-view as well. But I personally think this was not a good decision to get these two together in the ring. I'm not hating on you, Jake Paul. I love what you're doing, again, to enhance your brand. Tyson, I got much love for you. You're a legend. You're a boxing king. I just think based on the age difference, 27 years or 37 years, 31 years. Based on the difference, I just think it's just too much to overcome. And I don't think it's the best thing for either guy involved. I think, Tyson, you're well off staying out of the ring. Continue to get the bag through your podcast, through all your other endorsements. Jake Paul is always going to find a way to make his millions of dollars. But I personally don't think this is a good idea. What are your thoughts, Solomon, here? Is it all just a gimmick? Do you think that these guys are taking it seriously? And most importantly, do you think that these guys will come out of this fight healthy? Because I'm very, very worried that somebody could get seriously hurt with this.
Well, they've both openly said it's not a gimmick, right? But when you look at, the special circumstances surrounding the fight, the two minute rounds, they do that in a way to sort of like make it a little bit even for Mike Tyson. So now, his stamina is not such a factor. So they figure he'll be able to do it. But the problem is, you tell a young guy, 27 years old, that he's got a 2-minute round. Guess what he's going to do? He's not going to hold back.
No.
He's going to go all out. And so you could argue that it's going to benefit him more than it'll benefit Mike Tyson. So unfortunately, if this fight happens, I see Jake Paul potentially winning this fight just because, he's just not going to have to hold anything back. Like Kobe in his last game, didn't hold anything back, just 60 points. So that's what I feel like is going to happen. I hope
Right.
something doesn't happen that's age related. I mean, you're putting out. I don't care what you do in training. We all know that training is nothing near the real game. And that's where you can really hurt yourself putting out that much effort for someone at 58 years old. So, you're right. You hope both of them come out safely. But if it were a fight and if I were a betting person, I would put my money on not Mike Tyson.
Father Time is still undefeated last time I checked. So shout out to both guys. I mean, Tyson is a boxing legend. Jake Paul, a brilliant marketing guy. And, he's a decent fighter. But I just question the level of competition that he's faced up until this fight. So we'll see how it plays out on the 15th of November. It will be interesting. And yes, I will be watching. Well, you know what time it is. It is week 9 of the NFL season, and it is time for game picks. And your boy's been doing pretty good. I've been holding steady now. I had a rough week last week. I went 1-2, but overall for the year, I got 10 wins, 5 losses, and 3 ties. So I'm 10-5-3 for the year, which is pretty good. So I got some great game picks for you, and we are going to start in the ATL with the Dallas Cowboys coming in to Atlanta. The Falcons are favored by 3 here. I'm really surprised the line is not higher. So Atlanta is the favorite here. I think this is the pick of the week, the game of the week, because the Falcons at home play very well. Kirk Cousins at home, statistically speaking, has a really great passer rating. He throws for a ton of yards. The Falcons can run the football. And I think defensively, they're going to get to Dak Prescott. They're going to put pressure on Dak. Ezekiel Elliott's not going to really do much on the ground. They're not going to be able to do any play action and stretch the field. I think Atlanta is viable here. Swallow the 3 points. I think the Falcons win this and they dominate this football game. I really think that Atlanta will pull away, particularly in the second half. I like Atlanta here, 28. I say Dallas puts up about 20 points. So they more than cover the 3. Roll with the Falcons, okay? Moving on, we got the Denver Broncos sitting at 5-3. Surprise team in the NFL this year, right? They're going to Baltimore to play the Ravens, who just dropped an L in Cleveland. The Ravens defense has been very suspect in several games this year. So the Broncos, surprisingly, are a 9-point dog. So the Ravens are the favorite at 9. I love Denver here. Roll with Denver and the points at +9. That's way too many points. Bo Nix is maturing every week. He's developing under the tutelage of Sean Payton. I like Denver here. I think they'll be able to move the football. I think Bo Nix, with his mobility, can make some plays with his legs as well. But Denver's defense, ranked 3rd in the league overall, I think they're going to cause some problems for Lamar Jackson. I think that Derrick Henry will still have a decent game, but I think the Denver defense is going to load the box. They're going to stack the line, and they're going to make Baltimore beat them through the air. Lamar Jackson is always a threat, and he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. So I still think, when it's all said and done, that the Ravens win the football game, but I think Denver easily covers that 9. So roll with the Broncos at +9. I think the defense will show up. I think they will give the Ravens some problems. And I think Baltimore will pull it out late, probably on a field goal. They'll win it late. I think the Ravens win this game 20-17 over Denver. But roll with the Broncos at +9. And last but not least, we got the Colts going into Minnesota, going into Minneapolis to play the Vikings. Change at quarterback. You've got the veteran Flacco. Joe Flacco starting for the Colts. This year, he's got he's got 7 touchdowns and 1 pick, and he's got a passer rating of 102. So he's played well this year for the Colts. They have won a couple of football games this year with Joe Flacco playing. I do like what he's been able to do for the Colts. Veteran leadership, well respected around the league, but most importantly, he's not going to tap out and come out of the game because he's too tired. So Joe Flacco, I think, can get it done. I like the Colts here at +5.5. I still think the Vikings will win the football game with Sam Darnold. but I think it's going to be a nail biter. I like the Vikings here. They win it 27-26 over the Colts, but the Colts will be in this football game the whole time. So just to recap for week 9 of the NFL season, I love the Falcons at -3 with Dallas coming into town. I love the Broncos on the road at +9 playing the Ravens. And last but not least, take the Colts with the points at +5.5 as they go into Minnesota. You already know. With that being said, it's time to bring the pain. So Solomon, let it rain. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Mack B, MACKB as in boy _, at Sports Hop Media. Episode 47 is in the books. Keep it locked. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy Mack B.